Hello BookTube, it's Roz and I'm here with a tag. I was tagged by the lovely Brian at Bookish, and it's a tag created by Charlotte of Coiny Reads. And the title of the tag, I shall have to read because it's longish, is An Accomplished Woman book tag. Am I a good Georgian society lady? And the prompts help us work out if we're a good Georgian society lady. But you have to start with the quote from Pride and Prejudice that inspired the question. So here we go. A woman must have a thorough knowledge of music, singing, dancing, drawing, all modern languages to deserve the word. And besides all this, she must possess a certain something in her air and manner of walking, the tone of her voice, her address and expressions, or the word will be but half deserved. So, I think that was Caroline Bingley asking Mr. Darcy to agree with her, and it was a sort of like a bit of a snarky put down for Elizabeth Bennet. So let's get to the prompts. Oh, tag first. That's my aim, inspired by Scott and Nell of Gunpowder Fiction Plot. They say tag people first. So I'm going to tag some accomplished women of BookTube. Gina of Gina Stan Your Books, Kim of Middle of the Book March, Christina of Knitting Books, etc. Heidi of My Reading Life. I had to tag Heidi because I've got to get into my head that she's Heidi of My Reading Life, because for some reason I'm always saying Heidi of Remembered Reads, which of course is another brilliant channel. But you know when you get a fossilized mistake in your brain and the wrong thing comes out of your mouth. So I'm trying hard. Kelly of Books I'm Not Reading, and Courtney Ferriter, America's Jewish Mother. That's my tags. Accomplished ladies all. So let's go for the prompts. So, music. Your favourite literary musician can be a fictional character or a real person but appears in a fiction book. So I had to pick the composer Shostakovich, as presented in Julian Barnes' book, The Noise of Time. So real composer, but in a fictional novella, and it's a really lovely, short, clever book that's kind of about, I don't know, what compromises you'll make for your art, if you're an artist, as Shostakovich was, musician, and the sort of relationship between culture and politics, and like Shostakovich and Stalin are the sort of central figures of the novella. It's a goodie. I really liked it. I was tempted to choose Music and Silence by Rose Tremaine, and the because it's got a lutenist, an English lutenist in it, and we need to talk more about lutenists, don't we, in 17th century Denmark, but Shostakovich it had to be. So number 2, an accomplished woman should be good at singing, and this prompt asks us for a poetry recommendation. So I'm going to recommend Daylight by Roya Marsh, which is a relatively new book of poetry, came out in 2020, that I'm enthusing about. I've been throwing recommendations here and there. She's certainly an accomplished woman of a very modern type. Yeah. Question number 3, or prompt number 3, drawing. And this asks you for a beautiful cover. Now, this is going to be an unusual thing for Roz because I don't do book hauls. That's not one of my sort of things. Maybe one day that'll become a BookTube thing I do. But look, I have to do this lot. My Alice Smiths, because they were a present. What a lovely present to be given. And the reason being is on the sort of covers of these, they have pictures by David Hockney, an artist that I really enjoy, and not my favourite artist, but one that I enjoy. And they match the seasons. So, summer, I'm going backwards in time now. Spring, same lane in spring. Same lane, same tree in winter. And then the first of the series, autumn. And it's just something lovely about when there's a real conscious effort to make a beautiful thing of a book. The words inside are more important to me. Most of the books I read now are ebooks, so I don't barely see the cover, but I appreciate the effort and care that went into those. Another example, I suppose I was only meant to choose one, is like at the opposite extreme. I just got this because it's going to be a June read for me, and it's Omos by Derek Walcott, and it's a Faber poetry, and just like sometimes simple is good. So that was covers. Next accomplishment that we're meant to have, dancing, and that asks for a book with a lively plot. And I picked White Tears by Harry Kunzru because it's a book that at the start you think you're reading a book about record collecting, blokey completist record collecting, and then it becomes sort of a ghost story, and then it's a murder mystery, kind of, and then by the end you realise that it's actually a kind of a political novel about Black American history and who owns art and rights to things. Yeah, lively. That's my idea of a lively plot, for sure. Next accomplishment, modern languages. Your favourite translated fiction. Oh, this is impossible because there's so many. I read a lot of translated fiction, and there's a lot of authors that I have to read in translation who are amongst my favourite authors. So, but I'm going to pick one of my current favourite authors, which is Clarice Lispector, and her books are translated from the Portuguese. She's Brazilian, and I'm enjoying all of them, and I'm working through reading the lot. I'm going to have to pick which is going to be my this year's Clarice Lispector soon, and who I'm gonna read it with. Probably Alan of Big Hard Books and Classics. Maybe Una of Codex Cantina as well. We did the last one together. So, prompt number 6. Something in her air and manner of walking. Oh, I like that one. Yes, to be a lady. Even if she was being snarky about Elizabeth arriving in muddy footwear, having walked across the fields. So, a book with a strong atmosphere. Okay, well, I'm going to pick another example from translated fiction, and that's this last month, just like a week ago, read a book of short stories by Ismat Chugtai. The collection is called Lifting the Veil, and she was an Urdu writer writing in the sort of earlier part of the 20th century, or sort of 1930s onwards. And in terms of atmosphere, they took me so effectively into behind the doors of Indian family homes, I guess, in that region of India in that period. The atmosphere is tremendous. I'm going to be enthusing about Ismat Chugtai for a while, I think. It's like the domestic world, but in such detail and with such emotional honesty that the atmosphere is tremendous. Prompt number 7. The tone of her voice, her address and expressions. Gosh, I must mind my expressions. I'm sure I'm far too, unladylike. A book with beautiful writing. And I'm going to pick another book that I've just read, which was The Yield by Tara June Winch. And that was a book I read for Aussie April. And the language of the Wiradjuri people is absolutely central to that book and my enjoyment of that book. But I think everyone I know that's read it said that that's the sort of the kind of dictionary that runs through the book of words from that language and their sort of meanings is the best thing about that, what is altogether a good book. And it's just one of 250 languages and 600 or more dialects of the indigenous languages of Australia, many of which are now extinct. The rate of language loss has been greatest in Australia than anywhere in the world. And language and connects to how we think and see the world. It both reflects it and shapes it. So losing languages matters because you lose something of the culture with them. And yeah, that is a beautiful idea, but it's also in the book The Yield. It's used very beautifully in terms of beautiful writing. Well, last prompt, number 8. Improvement of her mind by extensive reading. Okay, what's your next read? My next read, which I'm very excited about, is Trees on a Slope by Hwan Sung-won, and it's a Korean novel translated by Bruce and Ju Chang Fulton, and it's a modern Korean classic written in 1960, and I'm buddy reading it with Sean the Book Maniac, and I've got high hopes that this is going to be a really good read. Then there is a 9th question, which is: would you be considered an accomplished woman or man, if you're a man and you're doing this? But yeah, accomplished by Caroline Bingley and Mr. Darcy's standards. Well, no, I don't think so. Apart from the extensive reading, I can 100% tick the extensive reading book box. I don't play an instrument. I have learnt things unsuccessfully at times. I'm too lazy to do the practice to become a good musician. I do sing. I've belonged to various choirs. That singing is like living, isn't it? Drawing, my inability to draw well has always been a disappointment to me. I think because my mother was quite a good watercolourist and did oil painting, and I always felt like it ought to happen, and I probably just didn't put in the time, did I? Modern languages? Oh no, dancing comes before that. Dancing. Well, I'd say I was an enthusiastic dancer rather than a skilled one. Although I have tried everything from ballroom dancing to Morris dancing, but never been particularly good at any of it. Not coordinated enough. Modern languages, I've got kind of possible schoolgirl French, but sadly neglected. Maybe my air and tone of voice and manner of walking and expression might just get me there as an accomplished woman. I doubt it. Have a good week, and I'm so behind with tags. I may do like a second tag this week, I think, but we'll see. And enjoy doing the tag if I've tagged you, but don't feel like you have to if you don't want to. And anyone else that fancies doing it, wants to prove their accomplished credentials, feel free.